Cold, rain, wind, and a chance of snow to boot. But for Notre Dame and Cornell, that just adds fuel to the fun for these top 10 teams as the ACC meets the Ivy League in South Bend. As we say good afternoon and welcome inside our Lotta Stadium. Alongside my partner, Brian Benedict, I'm Juan Jose Rodriguez. And Brian, both teams not only looking to qualify for the NCAA tournament, but also position themselves within that coveted top 8 range.
It's important to get into the top 8, so then that way the first round of the tournament you do get a home game. But as we look at some of those top 10 teams, 4 of the 10 are either ACC or Ivy League. And as you look at the top 3, all 3 of those teams have lost to either an Ivy or an ACC, so we can see how strong these conferences are. And
both of these squads scoring off today feature high-octane attacks. Cornell led by the junior, Jeff Teat.
When we spoke with Coach Milliman, he shared that Teat, his best attribute is his patience. We can see him attack the net where he hides his stick, but he's always keeping his head up, not forcing anything to see where he can find his teammates. A big reason why he leads this squad in assists.
And Teat needs just 5 goals. For his 3rd consecutive 30-30 season, would become just the 2nd player in Cornell history to accomplish that feat. On the Notre Dame side, Teat's counterpart, the versatile midfielder in Brian Costabile.
Yeah, Brian Costabile, one of the best midfielders in the nation. His versatility side of it, he can shoot from anywhere. And when he's from the outside shooting, he can also place it either low or high, which makes it that much more difficult for a goalie to stop.
And we'll send it down to the field as there you see Brian Costabile leads the team in both goals and points. He's really the engine that makes this Notre Dame team go.
Well, he stretches the defense out. When you're able to shoot as far out as you can, or he does, I should say, you stretch the defense out, you create some more openings for your teammates.
Be a battle of 47s in the face-off. Charlie Leonard, Luca Tria, and it's won by the Irish. Irish quickly down. Handled by John Hallenbeck at the point. Moving to his right. Very windy, rainy conditions here at our Lotta Stadium. Irish enter at 6-4, 1-2 in the ACC. Cornell a win better overall at 7-4, and even 500, 2-2 in Ivy League play. Getting inside was the Irish, but stopped away. And Cornell with an early defensive stop.
Yeah, Gleason had a nice move there getting back to the inside. Hung his stick maybe a little bit too long, which is the opportunity to check it out. That loose ball foul, ball going the other way for the Big Red.
Cornell lost to one of those ACC teams in the top 10, to Syracuse, earlier in the week. Notre Dame coming off a big win against Marquette. That was the 300th for head coach Kevin Corrigan here at Notre Dame.
Yeah, he's done an amazing job with this program, and he even shared it's not just about getting that 300 wins, but who you do it with, both players and coaches.
Yeah, really excited to hit that number was Kevin Corrigan. Although, as he told us earlier in the week, didn't actually realize that he had hit the 300 number.
Came by surprise. He has other things on top of his mind there.
Cornell with 20 on the shot clock in their opening possession. Inside to McCulloch, now out to Jeff Teat. Teat shoots just wide. Just 10 seconds remaining on the shot clock as Teat's shot was not on cage.
But he can shoot it from the outside. That's something special about Teat. It's not just close on the inside. He can do it from distance.
Getting inside and absorbing contact, but the shot was blocked. There's Clark Peterson on that shot. So both teams held out in their first possession. Brian Willits. Wheaton Jacoboyce at the center. Jacoboyce resets now over to Quinn McCann. McCann, one of the leaders in this Irish midfield. Here's Costabile, so dangerous from all points of the field. Brendan Gleason loses it.
Yeah, flag down there, so it's going to stay man-up opportunity for Notre Dame. But you said how dangerous Costabile is. I'm sure the Big Red are going to throw their LSM on him here today.
So Notre Dame stays on the man advantage. Couple of shots early for Cornell. As the weather continues to play a factor, Brian, you mentioned earlier how some of these players on the attack maybe won't shoot as far out as they're normally accustomed to, especially with the high winds and the rain in the forecast.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll start by feeling it out, right? You want to make sure that your sticks work in the same way, whether it was not raining or not. But at the same time, you know, once that happens, they'll make the adjustments they need to do and just not force anything. And sometimes if they want to go to the inside a little bit more or shoot a little bit closer, they might change that and adjust it.
Jacobois was looking inside for Willits, but passed away. And
part of the weather is not just the shooting piece to it, but also maybe some of those passes that normally they connect on. So unforced turnovers like we saw there for Notre Dame could be a factor here today.
Ball picked up inside, close by Notre Dame. Flipped and scored by Costabile, and the Irish up one.
When you're man up for a minute, you want to work the ball around, and you don't want those unforced turnovers. Unfortunate it happened there for Notre Dame. At the same time, their effort, being able to ride and cause this turnover where Costabile just took it himself, and we're seeing that backhand shot become more and more popular. Sometimes that's the only angle. He's able to bury it there.
Well, and we highlighted earlier the versatility of Brian Costabile. He got that started just by putting his stick up, causing the turnover. And then as soon as that ball ends up in the stick of Brian Costabile, not a whole lot that Cornell could do with that one.
Especially on the doorstep like that, there's
Exactly.
not a lot. But it's the all-around effort. It's just not those offensive plays down the alley. It's doing everything, being able to ride.
So it's Costabile's 27th goal of the season, leads the team in goals and now with his 30 points. So Cornell had the first two shots of the game, but Notre Dame's first results in the first goal.
Yeah, time of possession today is going to be interesting to see what happens. The Cornell attack, I don't know if there's a more productive attack in all of college lacrosse, having 96 goals combined on the season. They average 8 a game from those three. That's just tough. So the time of possession for Notre Dame, if it is going to be on this end, you know, it's only going to stop them from being able to shoot.
Connor Morin's shot goes wide and over the cage. And yeah, when we talked to Coach Milliman earlier in the week, he really emphasized their ability to produce on the attack. There's a lot of contact inside as Hallenbeck took a shot. The shot was blocked, and meanwhile for Coach Corrigan, his big emphasis was just simply on guarding. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to just getting in front of your man and ultimately trying to just stop them. And we've seen Cornell pose a lot of problems on the attack. It'll be interesting to see how the Irish respond.
Yeah, the guarding piece to it is important, and then also the ball movement. These guys move the ball so quickly. They're not afraid to share it to find that best shot. So it's not just that one-on-one matchup, but that team defense, that communication is going to be important.
.40 to go on the shot clock for Cornell. Big Red move it around nicely, as you were just mentioning. Brought it from just across midfield all the way down behind the goal and around. A save by Zulo on the shot from Matt Licciardi.
Almost every one of those guys getting a touch, right? So you're talking about working the ball around, you're just moving it.
Eric Restic now over to Gleason. Gleason looks for a chance, now pulls it back. Gleason using the screen, now waiting for Wheaton Jacobois to enter the fray. First 6 minutes gone, just the one goal from Brian Costabile. Jacobois patiently. Jacobois inside. Shot blocked. Now picked up by Wallace.
Jacoboy's patient there where he pulled the ball out, stretching that defense. Had the shorty, so he figured it was a green light for him to go to the net, and just a better save, though, really, from Erlin. Stop that ball from going in.
Big Red back the other way. Inside, and Teat ties it up. Jeff Teat puts Cornell on the board. 7 minutes, 6 seconds to go. Defensive matchup between Notre Dame and Cornell. 1 goal apiece in the opening 7.5 minutes.
Jeff Teat getting his first goal on the day, but assisted by McCulloch. We know that the attack trio here for the Big Red like to dish the ball, but here coming from McCulloch down the alley, Teat able to just place that ball before Zulo gets a chance to stop it.
Yeah, that pass came right across the face of Jack Zulo, but perfectly in position to find Teat, as you mentioned, right on the doorstep, and able to just put it right past the junior goalie.
And Teat didn't mess around with it, didn't throw any fakes. He saw the opening, just a quick stick to get it in.
Irish win the faceoff. Back on the attack, and we'll monitor the Irish on the faceoff, especially against Cornell, who's had some struggles in that area.
Yeah, they have, and I think the wing play is one of the big pieces for Cornell that they're looking to have step up today. I know Coach Millman felt that Notre Dame at the faceoff X, strong all around. That unit is solid, and he wants to make sure that they're able to do the same thing with that matchup here today.
Irish work it around. Bringing in front was Morin, but just going wide. Still 35 to go on the shot clock for the possession for Notre Dame.
Costabile with the shorty here.
Costabile gets past the initial defender. Costabile inside, shot saved by Erlin. Shot clock resets. Costabile outside. Shot blocked this time. Looked like Kaysen Tarbell was in there. Scrambled for the ground ball just in front of the cage. The Big Red win it back. Couple of big saves early for Chase Erlin.
Real big saves. And being able to have Costabile dodge by a couple guys and still stop it as he did. And then just the effort on the ground ball, just to get the ball going the other way.
In these conditions, certainly just very difficult to get those ground balls, so just being able to compete and work for those balls on the ground, especially those 50-50 situations, certainly big early for Cornell to work on those.
Yeah, luckily it's not grass. That would totally change the game on how you're able to get the ground ball. So with it being turf, it is a little bit easier. At the same time, you're right. Right now, they want to make sure that they're coming out tough and physical to set the tone.
Piatelli to Teat. Now over to Connor Fletcher. Fletcher to Teat with 22 on the shot clock. Teat uses the screen from Jonathan Donville. John Hallenbeck doing a good job early. Keeping an eye on Teat. Pass was looking for Fletcher on the doorstep.
Well, it is a turnover for the Big Red. They did a really good job, that two-man game, so T was able to get the shorty. But even then, he wasn't trying to force anything. You see, he is patient. You could see him find a man, and just the pass got away from them, which was what caused the turnover. But the offense is still fluid and still working pretty well.
Yeah, we're seeing that patience from Jeff Teat. Not trying to put himself or the attack in any difficult situations, finding his avenue, finding an opportunity to get a shot in close. That pass just a bit out of reach. 4:40 to go in the opening quarter. Tommy McNamara gets inside. Joining the fray is Mo Meyer. Meyer back to Gleason. Now out to the sophomore midi from San Diego, the son of former Notre Dame quarterback Rick Meyer.
Coming off a big game against Marquette earlier this week with 2 goals.
Connor Morin makes a man miss. Turned over as Erlin just got his stick up. Pass was looking for Bardwell. With some contact, and it'll call a foul. Check that, a timeout called on the field.
Yeah, that was tough. I think they had possession for just enough time to make sure they got the timeout. You saw some of the Notre Dame defenders thinking the ball was already out by that time it happened.
And we've seen some exciting matchups between Notre Dame and Cornell in recent memory. And Notre Dame, their last and only win in the series came in that 2010 Final Four against the Big Red.
Yeah, game was played in Baltimore there. So it was, not only was it their first win against Cornell, but this game also sent them to their first national championship game where they played against Duke. And, you know, the one key thing I remember about this tournament and this run that Notre Dame had was goalie Scotty Rogers just was a beast in the cage, being able to make the amount of saves he did both in that Cornell game and then that Duke game.
And this was part of a big momentum run for Notre Dame, as the Irish didn't start off too great in that 2010 season.
That's correct. They got into the tournament. They were on the bubble there, but they were able to get in. But, man, they set the tone, and that's a sport of lacrosse. Even if the team that just barely gets in the tournament, they can play with anybody. And so we saw that, and we're seeing that here this year especially.
Cornell's won all 5 games outside of that 2010 meeting. That 12-7 win in the semifinals of the national tournament in 2010 gave the Irish a berth in that national championship game. Irish looking for their second consecutive win in the series, whereas Cornell looking for win number 6 against the Fighting Irish. Quickly back the other way, saved by Zulo. Ball popped in the air, then grabbed down by Timmy Phillips.
Yeah, Zulo thought the ball was maybe even going low, but sometimes when you see that and you're out, you can get your elbow in the way, you can get your body in the way, and he was able to do that there.
Costabile bringing it back the other way. A 20-second violation called on Notre Dame, not able to get it across the timeline. Nice pressure by Cornell to force the turnover.
Yeah, Coach Milliman shared his thoughts on the shot clock and the new rule, and he really likes it. It's tough for a team to prepare who maybe had the idea of slowing the ball down a little bit more in the past. And that's not just in the 6-on-6 offensive end. That's part of that clearing game. 20 seconds to get the ball past midfield changes it up.
Both the men's and women's games instituting the shot clock in the last couple of years, helping to do just that, to quicken up the pace, prevent teams from holding the ball for 1, 2, 3 minutes at a time. Big Red on the attack after the ground ball pickup. 30 seconds to go on the shot clock. Donville saved by Zulo on the shot from McCulloch.
You saw a few different plays there from Donville, getting the ground ball and then being able to just move the ball quickly once they maintain that possession to dish the ball to McCulloch for that shot.
Costabile tripped up.
Flag down there, so they'll get a trip coming up here soon.
Gleason on the outside. To the left of Erlin. Gleason brings it back up to the center, finds Jacobois. Rain really coming down here at Arlotta Stadium. 6 shots for Cornell, 7 for Notre Dame in the opening quarter, 1:45 to go. Back to Jacobois.
You see Notre Dame just not forcing anything because they know they have this free possession before they get a chance to go man up.
Griffin Westland now with 13 on the shot clock. Here's Morin. Morin inside, back to Westland. He's looking for Willits. Willits inside. Shot clock expires. But Notre Dame will use the flag to its advantage.
Today, the Irish are already 1 for 1 on man up, maybe unconventionally when it wasn't necessarily the play they were looking for, but still 1 for 1. So the Cornell Big Red defense staying out of the penalty box, at least in the first quarter. They've been doing a good job.
Yeah, Notre Dame didn't score on its initial shot on that man advantage. Then Costabile forcing the turnover and doing what he does best, that's finishing in close. So Carey called on the penalty. It'll be a minute for tripping. Just about a 6.5, 7-second differential between game clock and the man advantage clock. Willett's shot just hits the side of the cage. Back the other way quickly comes Salvatore.
Salvatore, a guy for the Big Red that they've recently transitioned, not just the short stick D midi, but he plays a little bit of LSM and close, and that all-around guy that can do whatever they need him to do that day, he'll be able to get done.
Midseason second-team All-American by Inside Lacrosse, Brandon Salvatore. Just 12 seconds to go in the opening quarter. Costabile, the goal for Notre Dame. Teat, the equalizer for the Big Red. Final 3 seconds. And Cornell won't get a shot off. As Notre Dame and Cornell fighting the elements, and it's been a close defensive matchup in the first 15. A big milestone for him, but certainly bigger things on the horizon as he continues to build this team toward the postseason.
Yeah, he definitely enjoyed the 300th win, like we shared before, but at the same time, it's much more to him than that. It's about these guys and these players that he has for him.
Yeah, Corrigan didn't actually realize at first he had gotten number 300, and he later saw Jack Swarbrick, athletic director here at Notre Dame, sitting in the stands, and then it started to hit him. Notre Dame quickly in transition as Connor Morin gets taken down.
Yeah, loose ball push on the Big Reds. The ball staying here for the Irish.
Notre Dame had 8 shots in the opening period. Cornell with 6.
And I'm still looking to figure out if that's all the defense that Notre Dame has, which is solid, maintaining the attack trio, or if the weather might be even a factor with that too, in the shots, or even just working the ball around, or a mix of both.
Notre Dame averages about 35, 36 shots per game, so right around their season average with 8. Gleason to Costabile on the far side. Costabile uses the screen and fires, but shot saved by Erlin. And Brian, with weather like this, we've seen both teams sort of struggle early on with passes and shots. Is there a team that maybe this benefits more than the other, or is it sort of even?
With these two teams, I would say it's pretty even, right? If we're looking at some other matchups, you could argue it could favor a more defensive battle, but really with the Big Red, they've made some changes on the defensive front, and because of some of those changes, they've improved how their defense operates and how they work together. So here today, I don't believe it's going to really affect or even impact the team in a positive way, one way or the other.
We've seen that defense from Cornell really paying dividends early. Zulo looked like he just got a foot on it to keep it out, as Notre Dame's already put up those 9 shots, but Erlin doing a good job forcing those tough angles and only allowing the 1 goal.
Yeah, not just him, but obviously the defenders forcing the middies or attack down some of those alleys and decreasing their angle.
Big Red with 65 on the shot clock. Doing a good job working it around. The shot just misses wide. Teed back there to keep possession for Cornell. Minute to go on the possession. Teed using the screen now, puts it back up top to Fletcher. McCulloch to his left. Now pulling it back. His pass just sails wide, and it'll be a turnover. Irish get it back.
See the Big Red do it earlier this year, too, with McCulloch going behind the net to start. He was really going to set that screen for Teet to get him on the shorty, but at the same time, he's not afraid to dodge from there. They do like to invert and find some of those other guys to just attack from different points of the field.
Cornell's third turnover of the game. Notre Dame with 4 thus far. Another turnover by the Irish. Really nice pressure by Cornell after missing on a couple of shots to get it right back.
We saw Notre Dame have one 20-second clearing violation there. The time was pressed. I think another one was coming for him.
One apiece after goals from Casabille and Teet in the opening period. Zulo gets a stick on it.
That attack, they're firing though. Peterson catches it. Does not take much time to do anything but just catch and rip on the crease.
Clark Peterson riding a 26-game point streak for Cornell. That's the 4th longest in the Ivy League. Top 20 in the nation. Such a potent attack for Cornell. Peterson, Teet, McCulloch, Piatelli, all big factors as Donville's shot is saved by Zulo.
What's interesting about those 3 guys is not only do they lead the team individually with goals as the top 3, they also do an assist. So both assists and goals, they're top 3 individually. They're not afraid to share the ball.
Peterson just got past Nick Stinn. Here's that shot from Donville. But just textbook save by Zulo, getting that stick down. Still even at 1. Couple of top 10 teams. Notre Dame and Cornell locked at 1 apiece. Head coach Kevin Corrigan roaming the sidelines. Has to be impressed with the defensive effort, keeping Cornell to just 1 goal early on.
Yeah, they still have 11 shots, so they're not necessarily off pace there with the amount of shots they're taking. But you're right, playing that sound defense and not necessarily letting them get those open opportunities.
Shot clock refreshed for Cornell. Rain continues to fall in South Bend. 10.5 to go in the second quarter. McCulloch. Peterson in traffic. Notre Dame takes it away. Back the other way, Arden Cohen. McCann taken down.
Loose ball hold, so staying here down with the Irish. But what about a swarming defense we saw there from Notre Dame? Cornell was looking at some of those backside options and working the ball around well.
Yeah, saw some really good ball movement. They found Peterson inside, but really nice job by Notre Dame just collapsing the defense and recognizing the threat that Peterson provides.
And that's one of his sweet spots, right on the crease there. He can handle the ball inside, and it's all about placement once you get there.
Morin from behind the cage finds Westland. Deflected away by Erlin. So a couple of chances in tight for both teams. But the goalies and the defense is really stepping up. Big Red cleared just before the 20-second clock expires. 20 seconds to clear it, another 60 to get a shot on cage. Out to Cooper Telesco. Telesco to his right. Now skipping the field and finding Ward, but Cornell puts it past Zulo. Cooper Telesco, the junior midi. Really nice ball movement by the Big Red and ultimately ends up in the stick of Telesco.
Telesco started that play. He's the one that was dodging down the alley and just did not give up. While he was unselfish with the ball, he finds himself on the doorstep with the ball popping out after a Zulo save. And from there, it's just too tough for Zulo to recover. Telesco making that heads-up play by not taking time with it, just catching and shooting.
That's been the common theme on both of Cornell's goals. The goal by Teat, where he found himself right in front of Zulo and just put it right past the junior goalie, and then Telesco taking the rebound and putting it right past.
No hesitation. That's all it is.
Leonard won the face-off and immediately fed Timmy Phillips, but the two could not connect, and it's a turnover going back to the Big Red.
We've seen Leonard do it a few times this season, being able to push the ball in front of him on his own. And against Marquette, he actually scored on an opportunity like that here, sharing the ball. But when you get a face-off guy that can win one-on-one matchup like that and start a fast break, it's tough to stop.
Loose ball pickup by Arden Cohen. Cornell with 13 shots, Notre Dame with 10.
Looks like the call was offsides for Notre Dame. I know they're substituting there. I'm not sure if anyone on Notre Dame's sidelines was able to get on the right side of the field. But either way, turnover.
Seventh turnover of the afternoon for Notre Dame. Cornell's got 5. McCulloch rips and fires. Blocked inside. Looks like Cohen got a stick on it. Drew Shantz back the other way. Shantz passes to Willits, and Willits converts. Brian Willits ties it at 2 with 7:42 to go.
To generate those fast breaks in the offensive plays, it comes from the defense first. Shantz being able to just bring the ball down in transition and finds Willits, who we know he likes to catch and shoot. He finds himself there towards those end of the plays, shooting from the outside, and in a good way, he actually finishes low here, not keeping the ball high.
19th goal of 2019 for Brian Willits. Second on the team with those 19. Fourth in points now with 22 for the junior attackman. Irish now 6-0 in the face-off circle.
Yeah, violation there. They went pretty quickly. So ball staying here with the Irish.
Gleason now back up top to Costabile. Costabile working out of his right on a couple of defenders.
They got 2 long poles sending his way, doing whatever they can to stop him since a couple goals are there early.
A goal on 3 shots for Brian Costabile. Gleason looking inside. Now out to Griffin Westland. Westland, who's been making an impact even as a freshman. Costabile flips the field. Willits again, almost the same spot. Westland got a stick on the loose ball. Ground ball pickup by Connor Morin. Morin out to Costabile again, this time saved a little more cleanly by Erlin.
With the amount of quality shots and placements that Notre Dame has coming towards Erlin, he's playing well right now in this first half. Stopping it high and low.
6 saves already this afternoon for Erlin. Zulo's got 7 for the Irish. Just over 6 minutes to play before halftime. Willett and Costabiel the scorers for Notre Dame. Teat and Telesco for the Big Red. Piatelli to Peterson. Now to Telesco. Telesco down inside is Cornell. Really nice job moving the ball.
That was almost an identical play from when Telesco scored previously. That same skip pass happened. The shot this time just went wide as opposed to a rebound for Telesco.
Yeah, that shot came from our left, Zulo's right. We're just unable to get it on frame. Big Red keep it. There's still 10 on the shot clock. Need to get a shot off quickly here in these final 5 seconds. Teach shot blocked by Zulo. And it stays with Cornell on this end. Peterson battling. Now to Licciardi. Teat swarmed by the Irish defense. Cornell keeps it. Flag still pending.
Yeah, free possession right now for the Big Red, so they're not going to force anything. As we saw Notre Dame do it earlier, running down to the shot clock. They might do something similar.
Doesn't matter as Peterson fires and scores. Big Red back on top. Just over 4.5 to go in the second.
Peterson recognizing he has a shorty on him. Knows he's able to take it down the alley, get in tight, and used to having a long pole, so he has a little bit more room to work even with the defender on him. And from there, he just turns back to the center of the field and puts it top right past Zulo.
So Peterson continues his torrent season in 2019. His 36th of the year. That's his 104th for his career. He needs now just 2 more goals to move him into 9th all-time in Cornell's career goal scorers list. That extends also his point streak to 27 games. Weather continues to be a factor. Rain, wind, even a chance of snow later on. Not something you hear typically in mid-April.
Yeah, well, it being South Bend, you're not too surprised. And it's the same with Cornell, too. Upstate New York and Indiana here, the weather isn't too different, so I'm sure they're not surprised.
Yeah, Coach Milliman really stressed that this is something that isn't going to be a surprise for either side. With the cold weather, the rain expected throughout the day, something that both these teams really are just accustomed to is in part of playing in South Bend or playing in upstate New York.
Yeah, and that's not just practice, but even games. Both these teams play outside, not like Syracuse, where they're at least playing in the Carrier Dome. These guys are both outside for their practices and games.
Stinn finds Connor Morin behind the cage. Morin flips it just wide. Reset the shot clock for Notre Dame. Cornell calls a timeout with 3:15 to go. Let's take a look at these conference standings. First, looking at the ACC, where Notre Dame finds itself right in the thick of things.
Yeah, when you're looking at the best conferences in college lacrosse, you go with Ivy League and ACC for sure. Looking at the ACC standings, they're all within the top 18, and arguably there's some that could be almost all in the top 10 talent-wise and who they've beaten. So Notre Dame obviously looking at Ivy League play here today, taking on North Carolina next weekend here at Arlada.
And you mentioned when we were looking at the Inside Lacrosse top 10, 4 through 10 are either ACC or Ivy. You just saw the ACC. There's the Ivy League. Those top 3, Penn, Yale, and Cornell. What a trio leading the Ivy League.
Yeah, those guys can beat anybody. And with the Ivy League tournament coming up with just a couple games left, it is going to be interesting to see which one of them, as you see them ranked 5, 6, and 8 and so close to each other, which one of them is going to end up taking the title.
Yeah, just 3 losses in conference combined between those top 3. As Penn still unbeaten in conference play. There's Notre Dame just breaking its huddle. 3 1/4 to go before halftime. 17 shots for Cornell, 14 for Notre Dame. Chase Erlin with 6 saves. John Zulo with 8.
Yeah, the amount of saves these goalies are making, 6 for Cornell and 8 for Notre Dame, just in the first half, is showing just how well these guys are playing today.
Second quarter has historically been the best quarter for the Irish. Notre Dame a 38-18 advantage this season in the second quarter. There's a flag down, about 20 seconds to go. Just a look at that shot from Gleason. Absorbed some contact after.
Yeah, it looked like it was a slash, which is where the flag was drawn. So a third opportunity for Notre Dame's man up, where they're 1 for 2 today.
Notre Dame didn't convert on its first shot of its first man up opportunity, but Brian Costabile forced a turnover and then finished on the doorstep for Notre Dame's first goal of the afternoon.
And you're looking at a score of 3-2 with just 2.5 or so minutes left in this half. You don't have to rush this man up. You want to make sure you go in at least tied if you're Notre Dame. And being able to really put one in the net here to tie it and potentially take another one prior to half is what they're looking to do.
35 to go on the man advantage. Costabile to Jacobois. Inside to Westland, who took some contact, and another flag coming in.
Yeah, that was in the back, so another flag being drawn.
Skip pass to Jacobois. Quinn McCann couldn't grab it cleanly. And play stopped as we'll get a call on that second flag of the possession.
The man up there shows just how difficult it is today, and I'm sure the rain is playing a huge factor in it, but just working the ball around. As we see a push with possession in the back. So Notre Dame now going to be 2 men up, hoping to capitalize on this opportunity.
Ryan Bray was in there. Case and Tarbell as well with Fleet Wallace. So it's Tarbell on the push. Costabile fires and scores. What a rocket from 26 in white. Brian Costabile to tie it.
Notre Dame was only going to be 2 men up for just a few more seconds, so they made sure they wanted to get a shot off. And who better than Costabile with his second today, 28th on the season, just being able to go high to high, and again, changing his angles where this time he keeps it high to high, but we know he can go high to low as well. But if you're the Big Red, drawing 4 penalties in the first half, you want to make sure the second half when it comes up to stay out of the penalty box. You don't allow these opportunities for the Irish, who are lethal.
1:50 to go before halftime as Cornell gets on the board in the faceoffs, and we'll see if that bodes well. See if they can convert on this opportunity. They haven't had a ton of success. They've yet to win a faceoff this afternoon.
Yeah, Coach Milliman wanted to make sure that even if they don't win that faceoff, to maybe tie up that center of the field so there's no fast breaks or uneven man opportunities.
So Paul Rasimovich gets the faceoff win against Charlie Leonard. 70 seconds to go before halftime. Shot fired wide of the cage by Connor Fletcher, the junior midi.
Fletcher doing a great job recognizing his opening there. He had the lefty where no defender's stick were on his hands. He was able to really shoot, and he put that on the far side, which is where you want to place it. It just went wide.
Fletcher with 77 points in his career, needs 23 to hit the 100 mark. Over to Donville. Donville rips one low past Zulo. Second shot for Jonathan Donville. And his first goal puts the Big Red back on top.
The answer Cornell needed after going man down the possession prior to that, being able to score before half, and puts it low on Zulo. I'm not sure if he had an opportunity to really see where that ball was coming from. Some of the defenders in a way. But either way, they're burying it.
Second assist of the game for Jake McCulloch. 18th goal for Donville on the season. Irish win the faceoff. Loose ball. Cornell picks it up. 15 seconds to go before half. Irish intercept it with Jack Kilty. 8 seconds to go, now 6. Final seconds, Willits up top. Past Erlin. Eric Restic with 0.2 of a second ties it before the halftime buzzer.
Restic is going to be excited about this play. The first time off the faceoff, he did handle it real quickly, but an even better check by Cornell. He's able to now redeem himself as Notre Dame regains possession. He stays on the offensive end, recognizing how much time is left in this half. And as a goalie, it's tough to see where the shot's coming from an LSM with that trajectory, so put it low and buries it.
So Eric Restic evens it up at Arlada Stadium, and a great finish, an electric finish, as both teams scoring within the final 40 seconds.
Yeah, 4-4 score at halftime is not necessarily what I thought might happen here today. I thought it was going to be high scoring, especially with the Big Red, but tied up here 4.5. Erlin on the Big Red, and you got Zulo for the Fighting Irish have been stepping up today. I think if at halftime your coach Milliman noticing that 2 of Notre Dame's goals have come from man-up opportunities, they want to stay out of the penalty box if they can here.
Back to the face-off circle between Leonard and Rasimovich. Cornell in the bottom 10 nationally in face-off wins, but they drop another one.
And we just talked about them only having 1 win in the first half, and the first face-off they get a win here. If they don't necessarily win the one-on-one matchup at the X, but they get their wings involved, that's just something that's going to improve their odds.
Here's Connor Fletcher. Down to Teat. Down to the left of Zulo. Teat had a goal on 3 shots in the opening 30 minutes of play. Here's Donville. To McCulloch dancing around. Shoved out by Matthew Blommer.
You mentioned 1 shot for Teat in the first, or 1 goal, for Teat in the first half. His patience shows that he's not necessarily going to force anything, and even Coach Milliman shared with us that he's okay with maybe taking a half where it's not forcing it and realizing that it's a long game, and if it's a second half where you start to really pick it up, then so be it.
And Teat's really shown that versatility to be able to score and get assists. Peterson battling on Leonard, and you're right, even if he doesn't necessarily score in the first half, it'll still be an opportunity for him to find his teammates, find open chances for others. And even if that means maybe taking a step back from scoring, we've certainly seen he has the capability to do just that.
Yeah, 31 assists, coming into this game with 31 assists. He knows how to feed the ball, and he knows how to find the open man without forcing it.
13:24 to go in the third quarter. Minute and a half gone. 2 goals from Costabile, 1 each from Willits and Restic for Notre Dame. It was Eric Restic that tied it with just 0.2 of a second to go before half.
Yeah, typically, I'm sure he would have found himself off the field there after the offensive possession, but he stayed on wisely, recognizing there's only a few seconds left in the half, and substituting wouldn't be the wise decision there.
Gleason turning, firing, bouncing just in front of the cage.
Gleason almost being able to bury that shot, and if he did make it, it would have been interesting to see the call. I know the dive rule this year is a little bit more subjective at times when it's not as clear cut, but either way, barely misses the net, and the Big Red regained possession.
Yeah, it would have been one heck of an acrobatic play from Gleason. Instead goes down as a turnover. Here's Licciardi. Teat down behind the cage. Now gets it back from Peterson and scores. Check it, it was Piatelli on the assist. But Jeff Teat finding an open lane and putting the Big Red back on top. Under 3 minutes gone in this third period.
How they move the ball around so quickly. You can see it's barely in their sticks when they're just passing it. Teat finds the open area, and again, for his second goal today, he does not keep the ball in his stick long. He catches and shoots instantly, knowing that the defenders are sliding his way. That taking more time would have just had another opportunity where the defenders recover. Instead, buries it top right.
And that was even a nice defensive play by Kilty just to get out there and at least force a difficult angle from Jeff Teat, but not able to get out there quickly enough as Leonard's pass to Nick Stinn goes out of the reach of the senior midi.
That play went from Leonard actually wisely trying to get a shot on Cage, but the hustle by Erlin, knowing that the ball's going back, and he hustles to be the first one back, is the main reason why Cornell has the ball.
10 turnovers, I should say, on the day for Notre Dame. 7 for Cornell. Big Red have a 21-18 advantage in shots. Here's Piatelli. As Piatelli and Donville play catch behind the cage. Now fed inside. Zulo with a stick save. As Teat's go-ahead goal, his 27th of the year, second on the afternoon. Zulo gets it ahead to Restic. We've already seen Restic score once. Fires again, but wide of the cage.
Regardless of the shot, that's a heads-up play by Restic, knowing he can help with the clearing game. As that shot clock was winding down in the 20 seconds, they're feeling pressured. Cornell elects not to slide to Restic. They'd rather him shoot than some of the attackmen for the Irish, which is why he had that open shot, and even though he buried it the first half, went wide there.
Jacoboys to Gleason. Brendan Gleason from behind the cage. Costabile thought about it. His shot goes wide and over the cage. Still 31 to go on the possession clock. 10:23 to go in the period. Gleason skip, finds the stick of Quinn McCann.
That pass somehow squeezes through and comes out on the backside. And McCann might want that back. I have a feeling instead of trying to go top right, if he looked at either bouncing or going low, had better odds of being on net. So either regaining the shot clock or scoring.
10 to go on the shot clock. Morin brings it around. Here's Willits with 5. Irish need to get a shot off. Here's McCann once again. Deflected out by Erlin. Shot clock violation.
Both these teams have done a good job today with causing the shot clock violation. 80 seconds might not sound like a long time, but it's plenty of time to get an opportunity to shoot. But these defenses are showing that they're able to force the unwanted shots against these offenses.
Zach Ward, Teat, down to Piatelli. Cornell once again. We've seen this throughout the afternoon. They start off their possessions by moving the ball around very well, trying to get the defense out of position. And right on cue, I say that, and they pass it out of bounds.
Yeah, I bet some of the rain is helping with those unforced turnovers. But you're right, they do. They work the ball, well, and Licciardi there was actually dodging, and as he passed it off, he was going to set a screen. So it's showing he's not even taking a second off, which makes it even harder to guard.
Jacoboy slips around, took the pass to get across midfield. Shot wide of the post by Timmy Phillips. Timmy Phillips, the senior midi from Virginia. McCann back out to Costabile, the two-play catch on the fringe of the attacking zone. McCann gets past Telesco to Costabile. Smothered by three Big Red defenders. A flag comes in. Penalty coming in as Cornell eventually took possession, awaiting the call now.
Yeah, Costabile doing what he can to create some offense, but while he's on the ground there, tough to know exactly. Might have been a hold as Costabile was on the ground. Without the possession, they were still playing, so it looks like it could have been a hold for the Big Red.
It is a hold on Cooper Telesco, so Notre Dame will have an extra man opportunity for 30 seconds. A goal for each side in the first period, 3 goals per side in the second. Cornell's got the only goal since halftime. Jacoboy to Gleason inside to McCann, stick save by Erlin. Jacoboy misses wide.
Actually, might have looked like Jacoboy saw cutting Willits, and that pass came in as the window of opportunity was slim. The pass came in quickly and just went wide. But again, the Big Red find themselves man down. Here they're doing a good job of now transitioning, getting the ball back in the offensive end, but that's a mental mistake they do want to change in this second half.
Notre Dame converting about a 35-36% clip on the man advantage. You've converted once today. Back out to the point for Connor Fletcher. Fletcher brings it forward, now finds McCulloch. McCulloch, a strong outside finisher, as Teat bounces one just in front of Zulo and over the bar. Jack Kilty has it taken out of his stick. Now the Irish recover.
Cornell a few different times today have been looking to get a shorty on Teat. So there McCulloch had his man slide in a two-man game. And you saw Teat being able to take his shorty to the net and get a shot on. But just a better defensive stance by Notre Dame. They were able to get that ground ball too and transition it into the offensive end.
Notre Dame on the attack. Willits down to Morin. Fresh shot clock for the Irish. McNamara brings it ahead. Freshman midi making an impact for head coach Kevin Corrigan's Irish. Stinn thought about it, now brings it back to McNamara. Mo Meyer. Meyer inside and scores! Dad known for his work on the gridiron, Mo Meyer making a name for himself inside Arlotta Stadium. And he ties the game at 5, just over 6 minutes to go in the third.
Prior to the Marquette game this year, Meyer only had 1 goal. He had 2 goals there earlier this week. Today, looking to continue that streak, scoring another one, taking it to the net, even with 3 guys around him, does not need much room to finish it, tied 5-5.
Stadium, 6:07 to go in the third, 5 apiece, as Notre Dame just tied it off the goal from Mo Meyer. Cornell coming into today, 7-4, 2-2 in Ivy League play. This will be a big win. Doesn't help them necessarily in terms of their Ivy League record, but certainly helps to prepare them for what they'll see in the Ivy League tournament and especially in the NCAAs.
Yeah, and Coach Milliman shared with us he wants to make sure this team is playing their best lacrosse towards the end of the season. And a game like this, with a team like Notre Dame that has shown they can beat anybody in the country, is what's going to help them get that experience.
Leonard wins the face-off. The shot from Willits goes well wide. And just to finish that point, he said his Big Red team getting closer, but trying to still build that confidence. They don't think they're there yet, but certainly working their way, improving on a consistent basis and trying to find themselves in a good spot before the end of the regular season.
Yeah, and I think some of the defensive shifts that they've had has been able to help change it. I know they wanted to get Salvatore not just being that short stick D-midi, but coming in either LSM or close when he can. They already know their offensive end is so powerful, having 96 goals on the season from their attack. Defensively, that shift's going to help.
Costabile misses wide, still 42. Now resetting on the shot clock, so a fresh 80 for Notre Dame. Even at 5:20 to go in this third period. Gleason. Morin behind the cage. Inside to Willits. The shot is good, and Brian Willits gives Notre Dame the lead.
Morin starting really that play, making it happen by dodging from behind. Believe somebody might have been caught ball watching as Willits, as he does for Notre Dame, finds the open space. And the important thing to see why that is still a goal is the ball goes in before he eventually falls into the crease. But Willits with his second today, outside previously, now on the inside where we know at the end of the play he likes to finish.
20th goal of the year for Willits. That gives Notre Dame 2 20-goal scorers on the year, Costabile and Brian Willits. So 2 goals in a span of just under a minute. Mo Meyer and then Brian Willits. Notre Dame's first 2 goals of the second half, and they've got the 1-goal lead now under 5 to go.
Yeah, time of possession seems to be leaning towards the Irish here for this third quarter, and keeping the ball away from that prolific attack of the Big Red is something I know Coach Corrigan was sharing he wanted to make sure to do.
Well, and certainly that time of possession helped by the fact that Notre Dame still has yet to lose a faceoff in this third period. 4-0. The Irish have grabbed all 4 in the circle. As Cornell has just won one of the 13 faceoff battles this afternoon. Came in bottom 10 in the nation in that category. Costabile inside, poked away by Erlin.
Because the deflection by Erlin, shot clock resets.
Out to McCann. Quinn McCann back out to Costabile. Costabile wide of the post.
I have a feeling Costabile wants that one back. He had 2 defenders at some point guarding him. One slipped, and he got by the other, creating that open shot. Just happened to go wide.
McCann walled off by a couple of Big Red defenders. Connor Morin loses it Those conditions continuing to play a factor. Gleason working inside, but he goes wide of the post.
Gleason making the move to get in between his defender and the goal. Wasn't sure if there's a push or not there, but he definitely stepped in. And because of that, ball going the other way.
But passed right over the stick of Zach Ward. So quickly back the other way for Notre Dame.
And Juan Jose, you just mentioned it, conditions, both from Morin's pass a moment ago when Cornell's clearing it, and again here when Notre Dame's bringing the ball back.
Big time turnovers. Now under the 3-minute mark from Arlotta Stadium. Cornell with possession in the attacking side of the field. Under a minute to go on the possession. We've seen the rain yet to subside, and these guys really starting to have some issues passing the ball, but not having any issues scoring is Cooper Telesco, his second of the game. Ties it back up at 6.
Telesco getting the rebound earlier today from a teammate shot. Here he keeps it to the right and dodges down the alley, and the slide just comes too late, where it's plenty of time for him to completely wind up. And he puts it high on Zullo, actually stick side high. But when you're at that distance, you can have that power. Telesco's going to bury that.
.229 left in the third period. Charlie Leonard and Luca Tria in the face-off circle.
Leonard going early at the X, where he's been so dominant today, which is what Cornell wanted, to get another possession after that big goal.
Can the Big Reds start to turn more of the momentum back in their favor? .50 seconds on the shot clock. Here's Piatelli working. Ward turning. Looking for Teat, but unable to convert on the pass. Ball popped in the air. Now Arden Cohen comes up with it just before falling out of bounds. Intercepted by Peterson. Peterson fires and scores. Right place, right time for Clark Peterson. And just like that, Cornell back in front.
You saw Notre Dame earlier today score while riding the ball. Cornell does the same thing here. Heads-up play by Peterson. He almost handled it the first time, but able to at least stop it. No one's on him, so he gets the ground ball by himself. And as opposed to taking his time, he knows Notre Dame defenders are collapsing on him. Just to shoot it immediately and puts it low and away on Zullo.
Hugh Krantz unable to close off the angle. Back and forth third period. Leonard wins the faceoff quickly to Restic. Irish working around the perimeter. Here's Tommy McNamara up top. Under a minute to play. 7-6 Cornell in a top 10 battle from Arlotta Stadium.
Meyer scoring just a few moments ago, showing that he doesn't have to just go righty to the cage. He can go lefty.
Takes the pass from Willits. McNamara, about a 4-second difference between shot clock and game clock. Morin behind the cage. Bringing it back up. Stinn. McNamara makes a man miss. Now all the way around the cage finds Gleason. 22 to go in this third period. Cornell on top by 1. Gleason's pass deflected away by Fleet Wallace.
Wallace doing a good job getting a stick in the passing lanes where the skip pass was there if it got through, as opposed it didn't. Heads up play by Wallace.
Just 4 seconds to go. Shot goes wide from almost midfield. And that will do it for the end of the third. A back and forth finish to the period as Cornell takes a 1-goal advantage into the final 15. 7-6, Cornell leads headed into the start of the fourth quarter, and a big reason why, the top three, Peterson, Piatelli, and Teat, 4 goals and an assist between the trio.
Yeah, 4 of their 7 goals coming from this 3. At the same time, the Notre Dame defense being led with Krantz, Keelty, and Cohen, they've done a pretty good job holding these guys because as a unit, they score 8 goals a game and 5 assists a game on average. So being only 4-1 as a unit today is showing the defensive effort the Irish are putting up.
Notre Dame does have a 9-shot advantage, 34-25 in shots. They're even in shots on goal, 17 apiece. As Teat and Peterson lead the way with 6 and 5 shots, respectively, for the Big Red. Leonard comes away with the face-off.
Leonard not giving up on that play shows that he can win it one-on-one, earlier today, but in this moment, with the wings crashing from the Big Red, he still gets away with it.
And Coach Millman really emphasized earlier on the importance of the wing play in the face-offs, mentioning that some of the face-off struggles that the Big Red have had, he doesn't put it all on the face-off guys specifically. He also puts some of it on the wings.
You can't. Unless you have a guy who's unbelievably one-on-one that can just take it himself. It is heavily based on the wing play and then being able to crash in.
Irish working around. Willett shot saved by Erlin. Point-blank opportunity for Notre Dame to tie it up. But Erlin keeps it a 1-goal advantage for the Big Red.
Erlin doing an amazing job stopping a guy like Willits where he likes to be on the crease. Erlin stepping up big there, getting his body in front of it. Having 12 saves on the day at the start of the fourth quarter is special.
Minute and a half gone in the fourth. McCulloch. Piatelli now to Peterson. Peterson, 10th in Cornell history in career goals. He's got 2 today. Needs 1 more to move to 9th. Peterson to his right, and he's in 9th. Largest lead by either team, and it's just 2. With 13:05 to go, Cornell leads by a pair.
Juan Jose, I saw Peterson with the short stick Phillips, earlier in the possession. I was wondering why he didn't go. But he passed the ball away, and it got back to him. And eventually he just takes it one-on-one past Phillips. The slide doesn't come quick enough where he's able to get above in the center of the field and bury it.
You had to think Peterson's eyes lit up when he saw that opportunity. And he gets to his right, gets to the center, and it's just a green light from there.
Yeah, 2 things why he had the short stick. It could have just been an unsettled situation where Phillips had to get on him, or Notre Dame might be looking to have a long pole slide quicker to him. But either way, in that scenario, he scores it for the largest lead of the game.
Yeah, neither team had led by more than 1 goal before that conversion by Peterson, his 38th of the season. He needed 3 to move into 9th place all-time in Cornell scoring history. He's got all 3. Now the Irish down by a couple. Here's the freshman, Griffin Westland. Notre Dame giving Cornell a taste of its own medicine, working the ball around the perimeter. Inside to Westland, just wide of the post.
Weston had a real good opportunity there to bury it. They tried to run that two-man game behind, and might not have been communication on the Cornell defender side where he found himself alone on the doorstep.
Morin uses the screen from Westland. Shot by Jacobois. His stick got deflected a little bit, so not a ton of power.
That deflection helped Erlin get another save today.
And the Big Red defense really stepping up. Really helping in front of Chase Erlin.
Yeah, part of that shift that the defense has happened from Cornell. I know Coach Millen wanted to make sure getting the new set and that new core close defensive players has changed this game, and I think that's the piece that they really needed to make sure that it complemented their offensive attack.
And he mentioned one of those changes, moving Kaysen Tarbell from the short stick defensive midi to a defenseman role. Really good understanding of the defensive principles that the Big Red like to bring in, as Tarbell really showing his ability defensively. Here comes Ward, who just bounces it wide of the post, but a flag comes in late.
Looked like it might have been a hold towards the end of the play, where now Notre Dame finds themselves a man down, and Cornell gets that opportunity to go man up.
Notre Dame hasn't scored since the 5:11 mark of the third period, as Cornell has gone on a mini run. They've scored each of the last three, despite Notre Dame's big advantage in faceoffs.
Yeah, despite that 15-2 differentiation at the faceoff X, them being up 8-6 just shows the skill that this team has all around.
Notre Dame is 5-2 in non-conference play this year, just 1-2 in the ACC. Big Red move it around. Rupp to Donville. Back to Donville at the center. Donville backpedals. 45 still on the shot clock. Not a big hurry for the Big Red. Donville fires the pass over by Teat.
Cornell's man up is really just showing how they can work the ball and not force anything.
Quick passing, nothing too dangerous. Still 20 to go on the shot clock as the man up opportunity winds away. McCulloch puts it past Zulo. McCulloch's first goal. He's already got a couple of assists. The Big Red now up by 3.
You need to be careful with that transition from man down to 6-on-6. You need to communicate who's going to pick up who at that time, and it looked like that might not have happened, which is why McCulloch is open there. The slide comes just too late, and they're doing a good job at their shot placements, putting that low. Zulo might have had difficulty finding that ball.
And there you go, Brian. Perfect example. Jake McCulloch getting his 14th goal of the year. Who gets the assist? Jeff Teat.
Teat just distributing the ball, knows when and where he should find his teammates to be able to put them in the best opportunity to score.
We've seen rain, we've seen wind. We're now seeing hail inside Arlada Stadium.
Not sure that would normally happen in April here. But it is South Bend, Indiana.
Big Red up 3, under 10 to play. The 8th-ranked Big Red looking for a big-time road win in South Bend over the 10th-ranked Fighting Irish. Donville corrals the high pass. Now back to Connor Fletcher. Fletcher now inside. Piatelli saved by Zulo.
Piatelli did a really good job on that dodge, not forcing the same side of the field where that ball came from. He went the opposite side, forcing the defender to go around, so just didn't have enough time to catch up. But an even better save by Zulo on the doorstep.
And Piatelli, someone we've really seen step up here in 2019. Now a sophomore taking a big step forward. Had only 2 hat tricks a season ago, 8 already this year.
Yeah, Coach Milliman shared, when we asked who might have surprised him this year, who's been the biggest guy stepping up, without hesitation, he said Piatelli. Just the ability he's been able to have this year on the scoring side is just adding to that third layer of attack.
Part of that big-time trio with Peterson and Teat. That's what you like to see, the youth coming into play with obviously the veteran experience and leadership of Teat and Peterson, but Piatelli, just a sophomore, really making a big leap from his freshman to his sophomore campaign. McCann to Morin behind the cage. Morin uses the screen from Jacobois. Jacobois now under 10 on the shot clock. Willits. Notre Dame needs to get a shot off. Here's Costabile firing just over the bar. And now just 1 second on the shot clock. Notre Dame faces a shot clock violation.
Yeah, Costabile doing a good job finding that open space. And he probably wants that one back too, just barely going over the net. But that shot needed to be taken before the shot clock violation hit.
Yeah, good awareness by Costabile. Getting that shot off, but a turnover by Cornell gives it right back to Notre Dame.
Solid timeout there by Coach Corrigan with 9-6 being the score, 7:50 left in the game. You want to make sure you set up a play to be able to.
Cornell leads 9-6 over Notre Dame as the Fighting Irish taking on yet another ranked opponent. There you see the slate that Notre Dame has to go up against, arguably one of the toughest in the country, and they do that year after year, Brian. No stranger to a number of tough games.
Yeah, you said it, Juan Jose. Year after year, they schedule the best opponents, and again here, find themselves in a close game with Cornell. And Cornell has done a good job of scheduling some tough opponents this year, and some of those tough losses for them being Penn State, Yale, Penn, and Syracuse.
8 games out of the 12 for Notre Dame in the regular season against top 20 in the Inside Lacrosse and USILA polls. Morin to Gleason. Gleason loses the stick and loses the ball. Big Red quickly in transition the other way. Here's Peterson. Big Red with yet another defensive stop. They've held Notre Dame scoreless for about 13 minutes now. 7 to go in this fourth and final quarter. Fleet Wallace to Peterson. One of the better leaders on this team is Fleet Wallace. Milliman really emphasized his experience, his leadership that he brings to the table. Restic forcing the errant pass, getting a stick out there. Ground ball battle just over midfield. Cornell comes up with it.
Salvatore, the great ground ball and a heads-up play, knowing that there's only 20 seconds left on that shot clock.
Final 15. Here comes Telesco. Telesco bounces it past Zulo. Big Red into double digits, a 4-goal lead with just over 6 to play.
The shot clock winding down, and it still does not matter for Cornell. Telesco at the center of the field to start with this dodge. Gets down the alley, and he doesn't need much room, where as long as his defender's behind him, his hands are free to shoot. Puts it on the far side of Zulo, and low and away. Makes it 10-6. Cornell actually on a 5-0 run. It was 6-5 Notre Dame in the third quarter. They've scored 5 straight.
Telesco with his 9th of the year. He came in today with just 6. So a hat trick on 3 shots for Cooper Telesco, the junior from Ridgewood, New Jersey.
3 for 3 on the day is not bad.
Not a bad efficiency mark if you're Cooper Telesco. His day got started when he picked up and fired the rebound as Notre Dame has still yet to find a goal since the 5:11 mark in the third. Nearly 15 minutes without a goal. Costabile shot over the cage. Morin back to retreat.
And even though they haven't scored, they're still getting those opportunities. Costabile the past couple of possessions has had some shots, so they still have shots coming. As we see there, scoring, putting it top left from Morin coming from behind in that end line.
So Morin just able to snap the scoreless streak before it hit 15 full minutes. And Connor Morin trying to shift some momentum back the way of the Irish.
What I like about Morin there is he had an extra step or two from that GLE, increasing his angle. Had he not done that, might be on the side of the net. Instead, he finds the room to put it past Erlin.
Yeah, really nice job by Morin getting in front of that goal line extended, and then just a simple shot. Not even a whole lot of velocity, just perfect positioning, perfect placement. The Irish get within 3, then back on the face-off win. Can Notre Dame pick up a couple in a row? Costabile. Under 5 to play in regulation from Arlotta Stadium. 8th-ranked Cornell up by 3 over the 10th-ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Connor Morin just got the goal a couple moments ago. Costabile bounces one and fires and scores.
Last possession, Morin finds himself scoring. Here, there's a short stick on him, which causes the Big Red defense to slide quickly and to ball watch a little bit more. We now see Costabile miss the net a couple of his last shots, putting it high. Chooses to go low in a bouncer. Erlin just unable to get his stick on it.
Notre Dame responds to the Cornell momentum with 2 quick goals of its own. (42-31) Notre Dame with the 11-shot advantage. Another face-off won by the Irish, and Leonard quickly back the other way. Draws contact. Gleason fires and scores.
In the game of lacrosse, you do not need much time to put goals in the net. They were down 4 just a minute or two ago. Now have it within 1 goal. It all starts with the win by Leonard, being able to control it and recognizing the Big Red defense sliding on him. Gleason, when he first catches it, he does not have the angle he needs, and he knows it. Protects his stick and puts it around Erlin.
And that shot fake from Gleason was all that it took. As soon as he got Erlin up in the air, even just a slight bit, just able to get around, fire it into what was a relatively wide open net. And all of a sudden now, just a 1-goal game. 10-9, Big Red still lead, but Notre Dame on the doorstep. They've scored the last 3.
It all started with that timeout by Coach Corrigan, recognizing he was down 4. Called the timeout to slow that game down maybe, to score 3 quick ones.
Peterson back the other way. Big save by Zullo on the shot from Piatelli.
That's one thing today we haven't seen a lot of is this transition game by the Big Red. They are so good with their attack, finding the guy who's open. But Zullo just makes an even better save to hold that 3-0 run that the Irish have been on.
Big Red on the attack. Here's Piatelli. Here's Fletcher. Watched by Restick, now behind the cage to Teat. Teat to Donville, 50 seconds to go on the shot clock. Donville being watched by John Hallenbeck, sophomore midi from Indianapolis. McCulloch, a goal and 2 assists today. Fletcher.
Not surprised by Cornell slowing the ball down here after all that defense they've been playing. taking full use of that 80-second shot clock.
Out to Peterson with 20 to go in the shot clock. McCulloch to Peterson, now to Donville with 12. Donville inside and scores! Donville's goal stands his second today. And the Big Red answering the call, back up by 2.
The Big Red were not able to answer it on that doorstep shot on that unsettled situation. Here, Donville protecting his stick until he absolutely needed to come back to his right. Gets it 5-hole underneath Zulo to put the Big Red up by 2.
It's a big answer from Cornell after Notre Dame came back with 3 goals to get within 1. Under 3 to play. Leonard picks up the ground ball, drawing contact. Flag comes in late.
We see Bartolotto take the faceoff for Cornell and actually had it where he won it behind him there. But it just comes down to finishing the play out. And Coach Corrigan shares there's no guy on this team that really has more effort and pushes themselves more than Leonard. And you see from the X all the way down to drawing the penalty, it's because of him that Notre Dame will now be a man up.
Well, we've seen Leonard throughout the season really winning faceoffs and then immediately getting downfield. And even though he didn't necessarily win that faceoff or even have possession as he raced downfield, you mentioned finishing the play, and that's exactly what Leonard did, forcing the penalty, and now the Irish will have the man advantage for 30 seconds. 2:42 to play. Notre Dame, an extra man opportunity after the push by Fleet Wallace. Jacobois. Gleason to Westland, now back to a 2-man game between Gleason and Westland. Jacobois to Gleason. Jacobois. Irish working around the perimeter. Deflected just wide of the post. Man up opportunity expires, but Notre Dame still in possession. Here's Costabile. Stick saved by Erlin. McCann to Gleason.
Cornell on that man up almost played it 5 against 4, and they're locking off Gleason. Or excuse me, not Gleason, Costabile. They're locking him off. It was really 5-on-4, a big stop for Cornell.
Notre Dame today has won 20 out of 23 faceoffs. That's been key to helping them get back into this game as Cornell had really built a sizable lead in this fourth quarter.
Yeah, 5-goal lead in this fourth quarter. If you were going to talk to Coach Millen about having that while losing the faceoff battle 20-3 and being up by 5, that's really showing the teamwork by the defense. But the fact that Notre Dame is able to be winning 20 faceoffs of the 23 shows that they can keep this game close.
Yeah, really nice job in the faceoff circle throughout the afternoon by the Irish, winning 20 out of 23. But Cornell remaining in there as Leonard's been strong in the circle. He's taken all of the faceoffs for the Fighting Irish. Meanwhile, for the Big Red, they've thrown Rasimovich, Graham, Bartolotto, Tria, Salvatore as Leonard warming up during this timeout.
He knows it. He knows if Notre Dame's going to get back into this game, he needs to be ready to go. And it's been him all day, whether he wins it one-on-one, whether he wins it on the ground ball with the wings coming in or drawing the penalty. He's going to do whatever he can to have Notre Dame keep possession.
Big Red up by 2, under 2 to go. Costabile's got 3 goals for Notre Dame. Couple by Willits, Morin, Gleason, Meyer, and Restic with 1 each for Notre Dame. On the Cornell side, it's been Peterson and Telesco with hat tricks apiece. Teat and Donville with 2 each. and McCulloch as well. 11-9 Cornell. A minute 45 to go from Arlotta Stadium. Top 10 battle between the Big Red and the Fighting Irish as Jacobois' shot sails high and wide.
A minute 40 left. We've already seen it's plenty of time to come back into this game for Notre Dame. But if they're going to do that, seems like finishing low might be where more of their success has been. I know Costabile wanting to bury that shot, but put it just over.
Morin gets ahead from goal line extended. It was deflected by Erlin. Stays with Notre Dame. Shot clock effectively turned off. Just about even between the game clock and shot clock. Morin hounded behind the cage. Willits loses it. Jacobois forces a loose ball, now scrambled forward just on Notre Dame's side of midfield. Gleason back the other way quickly. Brendan Gleason now with 45 seconds to go. Costabile taken down. As the Big Red hounding Brian Costabile in this Irish attack. Gleason to Costabile, saved by Erlin. Big time save after big time save for the freshman goalie, Chase Erlin.
Costabile getting a look that he wants 2 times there on that possession from the middle of the field and just unable to connect.
Final 20 seconds as Cornell looking to seal off a big time win on the road in South Bend.
Yeah, Cornell calling timeout, recognizing they want to make sure being up 2, they get the ball in the hands of the right guys like Piatelli or Peterson or Teat just to handle it, to run the clock out. You're going to see Notre Dame pull Zullo out of the net to make sure they're able to double the ball wherever they do take it from, which looks like it's going to be in that bottom left corner.
Some of the offensive leaders for Notre Dame have been the Killer Bees, Costabile and Willits.
Yeah, both of these guys today really a big reason why Notre Dame is still within shot of this game. Each of them finding the net and distributing the ball to bury it here as we see Costabile bury it.
Yeah, it's been Willits and Costabile generating the offense, but with just 15 seconds, looks as if it will not be enough. As Cornell holds a 2-goal lead now with just a quarter minute to go.
Yeah, the combination of these 3 guys today making up 6 of the 9 goals shows that their offense comes from these 3, just like the Cornell offense comes to their main 3 on attack.
6 goals between that trio of Costabile, Willits, and Gleason. Willits also adding an assist today as the final 15 seconds, Teat sends it into in front of the cage. Erlin picks up the ground ball and just sends it forward. And the Big Red invades South Bend for the first time since these 2 teams met in 2010. And Cornell, a top 10 win over the Fighting Irish.
Not the matchup we thought at first was going to happen in the first half with it being a 4-4 score. But Cornell being able to really pull this second half together on that offensive end, drawing 11 goals. And really it comes from a defensive end from both goalies making some big saves here today.
So for my partner, Brian Benedict, my producer, Nathan Bush, I'm Juan Jose Rodriguez saying so long from Arlotta Stadium, where Notre Dame falls to 6-5 on the season. Cornell a big top 10 win on the road by a final score of 11-9. To watch this entire game on replay as well as other events on the ACC Network Extra, visit WatchESPN.com or download the Watch ESPN app. This has been a presentation of the ACC Network Extra.